Hey everyone, this is Natalie Pace, and today I have the honor and the privilege of interviewing the co-authors of the Peace Guidebook. Each of these two women brings decades of experience. Elizabeth Hamilton Guarino, both as a mother of now adult sons, and also the CEO and founder of Best Ever You Network, which of course requires a lot. And Dr. Katie Eastman. She is an internationally acclaimed grief therapist, so certified therapist, in addition to being the co-author. So we'll get started in just a moment, but we're going to be learning about all the ways that we can create peace in our families, in our communities, in those interactions with some colleagues that appear to be more aggressive than we would like, and all this and more. So thank you, Elizabeth and Dr. Katie, for joining me today. I want to just jump in. Why did you need to write a book on peace, the Peace Guidebook? What was this within this? What made you so passionate that this was what needed to be addressed?
Well, I think both of us, if you look back, we always knew we were going to write about a book about peace when we were kids, even. I think it's something we've always wanted to do. But in this moment right now, I think both of us feel that there's so much chaos out there that there needed to be a resource where people could go to find peace, to
Yeah.
find the calm in the storm. And really, we sat. Katie, chime in. We sat with our hair on our head in our jammies. We had 4 in the morning meetings. We had we had all sorts of moments to bring this book to life.
Yeah,
It
and
was.
I think
Go ahead. Neha.
Yeah, I think a piece of this, which I really loved, I was just I didn't get a chance to read the entire book, but I definitely dived into a lot of the topics that you were addressing. And what I really loved is that you kind of start with inner peace. So let's talk a little bit about that, right? You have to be the change first within, right? But how do you know whether or not you have a peaceful interior where do you begin that journey of really being truthful to yourself about whether or not you are in peace with yourself and then taking the steps forward to make the changes to get there.
One of the things I love about this book is there's assessment tools in there where you can ask yourself questions about how well you respond in certain situations so that you can actually give yourself ideas about things that you want to work on to better yourself. And we all have times when we quote, and Elizabeth and I always say we lose it, and what's important is how you bring yourself back. So these questions in the book allow you to know yourself better and to decide for yourself how I want to live peacefully.
Right, right. And I think that's a part of it too, is that, it's learning how to navigate conflict. So peace is not like you get to go through a fluffy world full of butterflies. I mean, you still live in the real world. So can you give us some concrete tips, both of you? How do you navigate conflicts to become more peaceful? Because we do have triggers. Let's just be honest, right? If someone presents themselves very aggressively in our face, we might have a trigger on that.
Well, I think one of the things you just said it too, we called it a no fluff zone where we put in real life examples of probably some of the most unpeaceful things both of us have ever gone through in our lives. And so we brought in contributors also. So there's 20 contributors in the book. There's 2 stories in each chapter from the book, and there's all these exercises. And that helps you navigate those unpeaceful moments. But as we say in the book, we're trying to help people practice peace in every moment. So we talk about pause, breathe, choose. And that, as Katie can explain, resets you completely.
Well, do you want to share a story of a conflict since I'm sure that, we all have lived in a world where those happen?
Oh, yes. Um, I can share one where I had gone and had my car done
Mm-hmm.
3 times.
Oh.
And each time I had to drive to the place, it was 30 minutes each way.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time I went back for the third one, not fixed,
Yeah.
and I had missed work and missed all kinds of meetings, I wasn't a happy camper.
Right.
And so I found myself getting really angry at the person who was in front of me, and they probably were not the person responsible.
Right.
So I stepped away. I did the breathe thing. I did, and it only takes 30 seconds for your brain, your body, and your mind, your spirit all to reset. So
Interesting.
I did that. I took 30 seconds and then I came back and I said, I'm sorry. You probably aren't the person responsible for this. I apologized and I reset and
Right.
we started over. So we all have moments like that. I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody can name something like that. Right, Elizabeth?
No, no, never. No, I don't have moments like that. I gotta tell you, I try to not have moments like that as best I can now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as
Yeah.
as as much as I can to implement peace, I will definitely stop myself. But I think also I'm wired in such a way, especially as a mom of four boys, and just I think I was put on the planet. I don't have anger. It takes an incredible amount of something to get me
Mm-hmm.
angry at something. So I don't have that. What I have is maybe a little bit different. If somebody's angry around me, I get really sad. It makes me sad.
Right.
It makes me hurt, actually ache when I see people fighting or fighting over children in divorces or fighting over shrubs, between two houses with lawyers involved or whatever. Some of the things, and I know it does to Katie as well. It just makes us ache inside from head to toe. And I think even that story Katie just shared, that happened while we were writing the book, even.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we all have these moments, and learning that pause, breathe, choose, and how you respond next is the difference between maybe conflict, even more conflict, or whatever. And maybe choosing your battles wisely. I'm not sure. That's a maybe a cliche. I'm not sure, but I know I certainly do. I certainly really back up before I open my mouth in any kind of angst or anger. Yeah.
There's a very famous saying, the battle you win is the one you don't show up for. Oftentimes
Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
that, or I say take my foot off the gas. You guys are saying pause. But I want to dive a little deeper. I was going to say let's go into grief, fear, and resentment, but I actually want to dive a little deeper about these. We may think that they're petty from the outside, but two neighbors are arguing over where the dividing line is. When you start getting into things that are like that, they are a little bit more difficult when you have opposing views. Do you have any tips on that where you really do have skin in the game? You can't, it's not possible for you to take yourself off the battlefield because you have skin in the game. With your kids, it might be a teacher that you feel is treating your child unfairly for some reason, giving them the wrong, you know what I mean? Like there are some times where you really
Yeah.
feel like, okay, this is a battle I'm showing up for, but
Well,
you can still have a peaceful element to it, I'm sure, right?
yeah, it's how you show up, and Katie's going to talk about this a little bit. I'm just going to if you're showing up with boxing gloves on, ready to duke it out and fight, maybe that's not conducive. But
Right.
Katie, what do you think about that? I think it's how you show up, and you always say show up with love, and I think that's really,
Well,
really
it's
important.
yes, it's absolutely how you show up. It's how you show up with intention to compromise. And it, as a therapist, I can tell you, it absolutely blows my mind how many people do not know how to compromise. And
Interesting.
we talk about in the Peace Guidebook that that's essential,
Right.
that compassion is the heartbeat of peace. So if you show up with compassion to try and understand
Right.
and empathy, to try and understand the viewpoint of the other person, that is essential. You
Right.
have to meet in the middle. And you can't meet in the middle if you hold up on your side. So
Exactly.
it's really, really important for people to ask questions and be curious
Mm,
about the other person's perspective. My father used to say there's always good stopping points in
yeah.
an argument or a conflict. And the good stopping point is to step back and think about the other person.
Yeah.
And what if they're right?
Well, also, like sometimes it's not that a person is right or wrong. Let's say, for instance, I did go through a divorce, and I'm one of the few people who actually we came to our settlement without lawyers, and we used a paralegal. Can you imagine how much money we saved on that, right? But
Yeah,
Bravo.
good job.
our approach was unique. I said, look, if you feel like you're giving 110% and I feel like I'm giving 110%, then we'll find a meeting in the middle because chances are we're really not giving that. We're giving 70% and telling ourselves we're giving 110. But like if you really feel like you're over giving, but you also feel like the other person is giving a little bit beyond what they wanted to do, there is a meeting in there. And if everybody is sticking to their guns, you do tend to stay a little bit separate, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you brought up divorce, and we have an example in the Peace Guidebook about a bridge
Ooh,
where when you are in a conflict, if you take if you take it's like putting weight on a bridge every time you don't resolve a conflict with someone. And if you don't take the weight off the bridge, eventually what happens is the bridge collapses.
oh
And
God.
and when I think of divorce, I think of it that way. That
Yeah.
there were so many conflicts, so much weight on that bridge that it finally collapsed and there was no way to repair it. But if we all learn to compromise from the very beginning of any relationship,
Yeah.
then we don't have to even, I can honestly say, my husband and I, we don't have any weight on our bridge. It's pretty empty because
So
we're good
ours.
at that. We're
We
good
are
at
too.
compromise.
And
We
you're
are
not you're
too.
not carrying around past grievances, right? So
No,
let's talk about that a little bit. I'm sure, that's a piece of it, right? That's a piece of traveling more lightly is not carrying around a lot of the past with people. There's a famous quote by Goethe where he says, imagine people in their highest self because that's the only way they're going to get there. Like if you constantly think of people in a pejorative light, where they're gonna kind of take that if their will isn't strong enough, they might take that on. If their will is strong, they're going to push you away because you're presenting them a picture of themselves that they don't want to look at, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Um, so tools for tell me kind of what you want to talk about there, like where you want us to go with that.
Well, I
To-
think what I really want to say is I wanted to lead into building communities because
yeah,
you guys are talking about also building peaceful communities and communities like even a neighborhood, right? I mean unless you like live in a gated community and everybody's super rich or something like that, maybe you have a lot in common, but I live in Santa Monica and in a 1 block radius, I can walk past every income level and every ethnicity, right? So, how are you building a peaceful community and creating a community maybe with people that are strangers or don't have the same beliefs or, these kinds of things? What would you say about that? And
so
why is
our
it even important, right?
Yep. So
very
we're trying
important.
to build a global community actually at percolatepeace.com, where we're asking people to go to the website and share a moment of peace, a peace promise, or a random act of kindness.
Oh, I love
And
that.
yeah, and we're going to talk to you about bringing you on to something about maybe a peaceful promise to the earth. So
Right.
we're looping you into what's coming. But we teamed up with Matthew Casalato, who Katie has a very powerful promise being shared as a blog on Best Ever You probably tonight or tomorrow. But maybe Katie wants to talk about Matthew Casalato. But I think right now it's very important to have those, we call them peace circles. Katie actually taught me this, so I'm going to talk about it and then you can fix it. But it makes sense, your tribe around you is your peaceful circle. And maybe you expand that and bring somebody else in, and you enlarge the peaceful community and peaceful circle. But I think it's just super important to be aware of your neighbors, aware of, you can do damage to people in so many ways. And so it's important to just be really kind to every human being that you encounter them with a sense of compassion, a sense of grace, elegance, joy, happiness, whatever it is. And if we spend our time doing that, that's a different world. And I think it starts though with us all being aware and us all doing something about it, rather than leaving it up to somebody in a government position or a far off land to that's where peace exists. And peace isn't this concept. Peace is actually actionable.
Yeah. Katie, you want to add anything to
Yeah.
that? Or should we
Well,
all?
I think one of the things that we want people to do, and we include children, families, communities, is the importance of we talk about the importance of connection and commitment. And Matthew's book is all about the harnessing your promise power. And there's power when you make a promise to yourself, to your community, to your friends, to your neighbors, to your kids, that you're going to live more peacefully. So when I gave my neighbor a book, I said, here, I want you to know that I consider this neighborhood a peaceful place, and let's keep it that way. And we really have a promise in this neighborhood, because it used to not be so great. And it is now, because we all have committed to one another to talk through any issues.
Right.
But it starts with 1, 2, and 3 and builds from there. And so we really want people to encircle with the ones that they want to be with, to promise and commit to living peacefully.
What does that look like? Like, how do you act different once you make that promise to live more peacefully, especially with your neighbors and your community? Can you guys give us a concrete example of what that might look like, or what's the promise that you make for peace?
Well, I like to talk about the grocery stores and I like to talk about the roads.
Okay.
Because I think those are two places where we all go, and
Yeah.
sometimes we're not so nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're honking, speeding, cutting, whatever it is on the road, and you have no idea what's actually maybe going on with somebody. They might be rushing to the hospital in that moment, but we get angry, so there's that. And then also in the grocery store, we can be pretty mean while we're waiting in line. We can be pretty rude to customer service people at stores.
Yeah.
I've seen that so much lately where people are so incredibly rude. I just saw it as I was getting a new cell phone. Somebody was just shouting at the top of their lungs at at the employee working there. I'm like, wow, you need to chill. Here's a Peace Guidebook. I didn't have one handy, but we need to stop and think that, you're not better than somebody to put them down.
Right.
And you're not better than somebody to be rude to somebody in a line or in a grocery store or anything. And I think it stops with it. I mean, it starts with those pause moments where we look around and we're extremely aware of who's in our vicinity and how we're going to engage them.
Yeah.
And some people have a knack for it, and some people are still learning. And when you get around somebody who's still learning, you need to implement some forgiveness because they don't know what they don't know yet.
Or they might be, I'm thinking, okay, what is it that would have that person so angry in the cell phone store? And honestly, right now with inflation, you see a lot of people that are carrying around this extra load, right?
Right
It's
there,
like a
isn't it?
resentment.
Yeah.
It's like my budget, I'm taking on debt. So the first person that comes in their path is,
This might be a convenient vent.
exactly. Like maybe it was like, oh, well, you didn't tell me there was this extra fee and that extra fee, or you know what I mean? Like I can just picture it because that's something that we all are dealing with today is, oh my goodness, look at the grocery store bill I just paid. Look at holy, you know what I mean? It's everywhere. So
But I think it's important not I think it's really important to remember that they're not easy targets. a person ringing up your groceries or a person working at a store, all of these people who are service to you are not easy targets for your anger.
Yeah.
And to not do that, I can't even, I used to be the Walmart door greeter. I was thinking about that the other day. I mean, I was the Walmart door greeter all through college.
Oh, wow.
And, I've heard it all. Every kind of comment has been made at me at this point. And I used to just stand there and be like, how can I solve the problem? And I think that's a really good sentence. How can I make you feel better? How can I solve the problem? What can I do for you to, lessen the load so that, you have a smile instead of anger? And I think those are all fair questions for, it's almost like customer service training that we need to implement. If you can, if you encounter a human in a customer service role in
Yeah.
a store these days still.
Well,
So.
also, it's interesting, and Katie, Dr. Katie, I'm sure that you probably have science behind this, but what I find is that the world greets you with how you greet the world a lot of times. I
Yes,
mean, certainly there are,
exactly.
right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And
For
we
instance,
have a whole chapter about presence
hmm
and how we show up. And I wanted to read this is that the first step in all of this is becoming aware that your presence, energy, words, tone, and even silence affect every moment of your life. You're not invisible. You're not neutral. You're influencing every space you're in, whether you mean to or not. So the first thing is for everyone to say, I'm in this.
Yeah,
I can point fingers. I can say that this is happening and that's happening. But reality is, you are responsible for you and how you respond. And
exactly.
so, in all of those situations, if you have and maintain a commitment and promise to yourself to be present in a way that affects and lifts someone up
Yeah,
as opposed to bringing them down.
yeah.
That is huge right there.
Well, that kind of brings me also to another question I wanted to ask you, and it's something that we started off with. So healing, right? Because the truth is, if you are in pain, whether it is physical pain, health pain, emotional pain, depression, um, maybe it is hard to pull that smile off or be the light of the room if you really are not feeling that way. So, do you have tips in the book about healing, about I know we've already talked a little bit about finding that inner peace, but let's talk about that. What about that person that's overweight or the budget that doesn't add up and is ready to snap at any moment because they're taking on too much debt? Or that other person who might be seriously depressed over something and stuck there? Any tips at all?
Uh, Well, Katie and I talk a lot about how the average person probably has something going on in the background that they're carrying around. It could be, who knows what it is.
Right.
And when you encounter people, you're not entirely sure what it is either. We aren't, I've been talking a lot about, we need t-shirts that say, be nice to me, I'm grieving, or, be nice to me, I'm sad today, or whatever. We're not walking around with t-shirts on that explain what's going on exactly. So
Right.
I've gotten so that I just assume everybody around me has something going on. And most of the time I find that it's a money problem, a caregiving issue with somebody ill,
Yeah.
maybe parents. A lot of people my age have sick parents, and so forth. But most of the time, and it falls right into Katie's area of expertise, most of the time it's somebody grieving. I find people are kind of sad a lot and they hide it. And I think Katie's brilliance is there, as a 40-year, as a 40 years of grief counseling and therapy to help people. But we're walking around a little wounded. And I think we all are. And I think it's really important to realize that. And I don't know that everybody does
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's all puppy dogs and rainbows for everybody 24/7. I think we have moments that are unhealed. And so helping people heal that up um, is a tremendous, recognizing you need to even heal that up is a tremendous thing too, if you
Right.
can. It might be just something that you're going through.
Right.
Right. One of the things I'm most proud about in this book is we take on toxic positivity and
Yes, we
we
do.
ask people to really look at pain as power.
Mm,
your healing power. And if you ignore it, you're missing the messages that your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotions are giving you to heal.
right.
And so we say about positive toxicity, it really does hurt people, and it stops them from their natural organic opportunity to heal. So we
Exactly.
have a whole section of a chapter on that.
I
And
think,
I think that's really important because most people don't want to admit their pain.
yeah,
Most people want to present like, hey, everything's
Yeah,
great, kind of thing. And when asked, how are you doing today? They go, okay, everything's fine.
right,
mhm,
And
right.
when you just scratch a little bit below that surface or get to know somebody well enough, and you can even in passing, I've had moments where people have, strangers have given me hugs because I'm, crying in the grocery store over my dad dying. But it just happened and somebody came up and gave me a hug. And so, we do have, I think there's more humanity than not. I don't mean to say that there's not. I think there's a lot of marvelous moments where humanity just is so incredible. Especially some of the things like Katie posted. There's some videos. CBS Sunday Morning is great at running videos that are that show humanity, with kids. And look, there was one the other day where an older gentleman was sitting there in McDonald's eating alone, and a little boy moved all of his stuff over to sit with him, and now they have breakfast every morning. And it's like, you got to be kidding me, and so I, maybe kids are a little bit more in tune and paused, maybe a little bit slower to be a little bit more aware,
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
think.
Yeah.
But if
yeah,
I'm almost 57, Katie's 65, if we can, we're trying to teach people, not kids, to pause,
Yeah.
pause for humanity, you know, please
Well,
be more
and
aware.
to
Yeah.
that
get
takes
help.
to
To
another.
get
That's the
help.
other part
Yeah.
too, is that to remember that we're connected for a reason. And if you're in pain and you're struggling and your life doesn't feel peaceful,
Yeah.
get help. Talk
Yeah.
to someone.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be professional help, but reach out. We talk about that a lot throughout the book.
Yeah.
Really practically, don't try to do it alone.
Because
Mhm.
otherwise we can't show up for you if we don't know what's going on.
Right.
I can't tell you how many podcasts I put out saying I'm so sad right now. My father has had a stroke.
Yeah.
I'm so sad right now. We're 5 years into my father having a stroke. I'm so sad we're 10 years in, my father's having a stroke. And people would call, people would write, people would show up, people would, do marvelous things. But if you don't express that, that part of social media, I think is phenomenal and fascinating. If you really scroll through your feed, bypass the ads, which there are tons of them these days, but if you scroll through your feed and just look at what people post for real and really actually engage your social media, mine today was, I need a hug.
Mm,
Prayers, please.
mm,
My dog just died. I'm so sad. It
mm.
was 20 things right off the bat this morning of people reaching out for love. Just pure, like, is anybody
Yes.
there?
Yep.
I need somebody. And that is why I hang out in social media. Less to promote a book, more to show up for my fellow humans who are aching. And when I ache, I say I'm aching, and they show up for me. And it's a really phenomenal thing. That's the coolest thing about social media. Other than that,
Well, before,
sorry.
we only have a few more minutes here, but there were two other things I wanted to get to because you guys talk about passionate parenting. So,
Um,
what does that mean? And what do you think that parents can do differently? I mean, they get so many cues, there's so many books to read. So, is there just a simple little parent hack that all of us could do to become even grandparents, or you're not yet a parent, but you're trying, just anything that we can all embrace, and make a big shift in the next generation.
Absolutely. One of the things I am super passionate about as a child therapist is that children are evaluated from the time they're little.
Mhm.
It's like you have to learn to do this, and you have to learn to do this, and you have to get better at this, and you have to get better at this.
Right.
And one of the things we always said to our daughter when she brought home a report card, were you kind? And we evaluate them for everything else, but we forget, are you a good friend? Are you kind? Are you teaching your children how to be kind humans? Elizabeth's always saying, kind human. We all need to teach our kids to be kind human. And when we asked kids about what they thought peace was, that's what they said. They said being a good friend.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just thinking of that is that, and the best way to teach that is not necessarily by telling it, right? Like it's doing it. They watch you and then that becomes the way life is, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Which is hard because, we're human too. Katie and I have kids right around the same ages. So mine are 25, 27, 29, and 31. And how old's Kelly now?
Well, she'll be 24 next week.
Yeah. So they're all pretty close. So we have exchanged a lot of parenting information over the years between us, like, should we do this or not, and so forth. And my kids were raised with a big sign on the refrigerator that says, there's two of them actually. One says #gratitude, and the other one says, be careful following the masses, for sometimes the M is silent. And they were raised with those two things. And yeah,
I do like that.
yeah. And on the gratitude thing, if I have a slip up where I'm not grateful, I will get an earful from them and they will go, #gratitude, mom.
Of course.
Like that. And I bought them all matching t-shirts that said #gratitude for Christmas. And, so we have a lot of talk around gratitude. I think that's one thing, and so does Katie, that kids could learn. Perspective.
Yeah.
Perspective is huge. And if you can frame things in gratitude at a young age, you won't have to learn that when you're 40. And it's, it could be a whole class they teach in elementary school, for crying out loud, gratitude. It's such a powerful thing to be grateful and be kind. Those two things, be grateful, be kind, teach those little two things to your kids.
It's huge.
I had can I keep going for 1 second?
Sure.
Or do you need me to? Yeah, I can. But I had a kiddo who was ultimately a professional baseball player. So he played sports in high school and was Gatorade Player of the Year and all this stuff. And there's a stigma that goes with being an athlete. People think you're rude and arrogant. Well, my kiddo stood up for all the kids who were getting bullied, and he sat there and protected them at lunch every single day of his life in high school.
And that's what you love. I mean, I know
That's what I love. I could care less if he played baseball or got A's or was Gatorade Player of the Year. I mean, it's all great and everything like that. But he's remembered in that school, in that grade, for being very kind to other humans. And that is what we told our kids, because we can all do whatever we're going to do. We can write books, we can do podcasts, we can have pretty hair like yours and all these things. Yes, I love your hair. Katie, and your hair, Katie just got her hair done yesterday and it looks beautiful. So, we're all smiling, we're all radiant, it's all wonderful. But in the end, people are going to remember how we treated them.
Exactly.
100% all day long. They're going to be like, she was kind.
Well, I also want to share something, and I was just thinking, oh my goodness, and it's not on my list of things to ask you, but I just want to share something. The Dalai Lama actually, because they have certain monasteries that also are there for orphans, and it's things like that, right? And what he did is he actually had seen someone putting a child on timeout, and he changed that whole policy, and he said, we are going to create peace zones. So whenever a child has a conflict, instead of going to timeout, which, as we know, doesn't teach them a lot, and they're just sitting there waiting, really angry until they're
mad,
out of prison,
embarrassed,
right?
Yeah.
But the peace zone is like this really awesome place where it might have nice music playing, some really peaceful quotes, peaceful visions in there. And when they feel that they've come up with a solution that would have been a more peaceful way to interact, then they bring themselves out of the peace zone and tell you, Now, come on. I was like, oh, why did I learn this when my son
I
was?
need that. I needed that one.
Wish that
That's a good one.
I would love that to be the norm. No more peace zone. I mean, no more timeout. Let's do peace zone.
Right.
My kids used to do something and they'd be like, I'll go to my room.
Yeah, yeah. So
It
anyway,
was
I
so
love that one.
funny.
That's one I'd
I
like to see shared
I
with the
used to
world.
say to our daughter, she would come and I called it the Tasmanian teen
Yeah.
when the
Oh,
hormones are
Yeah,
flipping
yeah.
around and
Oh,
they
yeah.
come at you and they don't mean to. And
Yeah.
I would just take a deep breath and I would say, you probably need to go away for a while, piece yourself out, and come back when you're better.
Yeah.
And she would. And she would say, I never meant to say that. I never meant to be hurtful. And so it's true that 30-second shift, if we teach our kids that, it
Yeah.
only takes 30 seconds for the mind to reset.
Beautiful. And if you have a designated spot in the house that's
Yeah.
actually someplace where people would want to go and maybe has,
Yep.
because you guys are also talking, and this is going to be my last question. You're also talking about both imagining a peaceful world, but also being able to, read or embody or drink in the wisdom of peacemakers. So let's talk a little bit more about that, about the imagining and also the resources that you use to get inspired about how to actually do peace in practice.
oh yeah. Do you have the book in front of you, Katie? Because I really love that. Yeah, I got mine too. I loved when you read that. Do you want to read that? We were
Which
really
the
inspired.
forward,
While you're finding it, I'll talk for a second because
the
one of the things,
forward.
yeah, with the
Yeah, it's
paragraph
right
we read
here.
yesterday, one of the things that we found in writing this book
Yeah.
was when we said we were going to write a book about peace, first we gulped a few times and said, we're writing a book about peace. Oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? So it was a little bit overwhelming to us. We had a moment and we had somebody say to us, who are they? A reviewer said, who do they think they are to write a book about peace? It's such a huge topic, dot, dot, dot. And yet they did it. And so,
Oh,
yeah, so we got a good one. And so to do that, what we did is we really paid attention to who showed up, like you showing up. It's like, oh, there she is. There's the beautiful Natalie. And we're gonna combine earth gratitude with the Peace Guidebook now and do all these peaceful things. So this is the coolest synergy. It's just all building. And the people who showed up as contributors in the book,
yeah.
they just almost magically appeared, didn't they, Katie? It was
They
like,
did. And their stories are so inspiring.
yeah,
And we would have downloads. And this is true. We would wake
four in
up
the
at 4 in the
morning.
morning and get ideas. And
Right.
we would feel like they came from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then we would contact whoever it was that came into our heads.
And
And it
then
would
like,
inevitably be the right thing.
yeah, and then like Kelly Brown, she said, you guys need to contact Desmond Tutu's daughter. She
Mm,
endorsed my book, her book. And Katie and I were like, I wonder if she would write the foreword. And so Katie, we dared to do things that we don't normally do,
yeah.
to write that letter. That was pretty nerve-wracking, wasn't it? Katie, we're like, we don't know what's gonna happen, but we're gonna give it a whirl here and read what she wrote. It's so cool.
Oh, I
This
can't
is
wait.
just one short section. The whole thing just makes me cry every time. But she talks about peace is not something we achieve alone. It's something we become together. This
Mm,
guidebook is not only a manual, it's a companion, holding your hand as you navigate the terrain of hurt, hope, and healing. It
mm,
reminds us that the journey to peace begins not on distant battlefields, but in the inner landscapes of our hearts and homes. Peace is nurtured in how we speak to our children,
mm.
how we forgive ourselves, and how we return again and again to love when fear tempts us to retreat.
Boy,
That's just
so
some of
powerful.
her wisdom. Oh, the whole thing is just
Yeah.
Wow.
jaw dropping. And she talks about how this book
Mhm.
reminds her of her family dealing with apartheid and her father's work. And she really feels like the book carries that on.
It's a lot of responsibility. We're like, we're just us. And so we're really grateful. Yeah, So we feel more like we're a vehicle for it
Right.
rather than maybe like all knowing and this and that. You know, uh, you know, but I just think it's so important who showed up, because we have people showing up to help us.
Yeah.
And that's how this works. It's exactly how this works, is everybody showing up to help each other in whatever they're doing, whatever you're thinking of doing, whatever your dreams are, whatever your goals are, whatever aches, hurts, whatever it is. It's so important for us to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's one of the only reasons why I do a podcast, is to hear other people and what they think and feel and dream of, and where their aches are and so forth. And I love putting those out into the world, because somebody can listen to it and say, hey, that happened to me too, or hey, I want to do that. How'd you do that? The amount of people now that like reach out and go, I'm sure you have this too, Natalie, because you've written a bunch of books too. How did you get a book published?
Mhm.
Common question. People dream of doing that.
Yeah.
Whether it's about peace or not, people always say, I've got a book in me, but it's trapped.
Right.
And so just from that perspective too, it's so much fun. So I know you're really huge into helping other humans too. So I love all the work that you do
I appreciate it.
to make the world a better place. And I hope that as far as peace goes, I hope we can really tie that in, because what you do with what we do, because a huge part of this is how our footprints we leave in multiple ways, whether it's mindset or actions or whatever, but also, the garbage we throw around and the resources we use. And we just went up, my husband and I just took the dog on a walk earlier today, and our street never has garbage on it.
Yeah.
It had garbage on both sides of the street, and we just picked it all up. And that's the first time in living here in 25 years that we've picked up garbage on our street. There's never garbage. Somebody's garbage got loose, I think.
Might have been a windy day.
Yeah, I don't think it's anybody
Nobody
deliberately.
to blame. It's just natural.
Yeah, I don't think it's somebody. I think garbage got loose. But we have that kind of garbage problems, where somebody's garbage tipped over, a raccoon got in or whatever, and we all
Raccoon.
help pick
Yeah.
it up or whatever. But
Yeah.
somebody's
There's a
garbage
million.
got loose.
But listen, I want to thank both of you so much. So again, the book is called The Peace Guidebook. What's the best way for people to find the book itself? And then also remind us of the new website, because that sounds super interesting. It sounds like it's very interactive. I
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
want to visit it. So give us some clues on where we can buy the book and also how we can join the community.
So we're on a Barnes and Noble book tour.
Mm,
It's and independent bookstores as well, but primarily Barnes and Noble and Books a Million have really received us well and have invited us in. So Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, all the independent bookstores, you really can go anywhere and buy the book,
right.
Amazon and so forth. But one of the big highlights of our tour is, and we scared ourselves with this too. We're going to, yep, we're going to the Barnes and Noble on Fifth Avenue in New York City on July 15th to do a book signing. And it's going to be from 12 to 2 Eastern time. It's a ticketed event, which means you have to buy a ticket and I think pay $22 or whatever to get a book and so forth, and stand in the line, which we hope we have a line and things like that. But, that's where people can buy the book, wherever, if you come to one of our book signings, or if you go online, or if you walk into your independent bookstores and buy it there, or if you don't like paper, it's on Kindle or ebook. It's everywhere right now, and it just became a #1 bestseller. In I think it was almost overnight, wasn't it, Katie? Like
It
we woke up
was,
in the
and
morning
it
and it was a
was
#1 bestseller. We're like, how? What
right,
the heck?
right.
This is
So
Yes.
great. Congratulations. Oh my
thank you.
goodness.
Thank
It's giving
you.
me
Yeah.
Yeah.
goosebumps.
It's
Yeah.
it's really a magical book. It's a magical book. It really is. It's people are like you always describe it, Elizabeth. It's like a big hug.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
This
so how
book,
do they
I
join the community?
Mhm.
what'd you say?
Join the community.
Oh, yeah, go
Yes.
to
Website.
percolatepeace.com. And we've got a form right there. You just type in what you want to type in and click submit. And our friend Bob Paltrow did a fabulous job cleaning up my programming into that website. So it
Okay.
works now and it takes a counter. But yeah, when we do signings, I'm seeing people like take the book and hug the book and sway. And so we wrote this to give you a hug in the moment that you need it, or
Yeah.
for it to hug you in the moment you need. And that's really what this is. It's a handbook on kindness, really. I think, Katie, don't you think
I think it really is. I think it's
yeah.
how to live peacefully means be kind, be compassionate. Compassion is the heart, or peace. Compassion is the
Passion,
heartbeat of peace.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So again, thank you both so much for joining me. And remember, you guys can share this. It's going to be on my YouTube channel. We're going to get it out as far and wide as we possibly can. So youtube.com/Natalie Pace. We'll obviously share it with them. So you may be able to put it on Best Ever You if you'd
We
like.
will.
I'm happy to share this. If
Absolutely.
you just want peace to be something that all of us understand more.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the mission. Yep, just how to understand life, do life a little better, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Help
Yep.
people be their best.
Yeah. And
Yep.
And it's
we're
hard.
not saying that all of us have to be perfect, right? We're just saying
Oh,
we can all
No.
make improvements.
yeah,
But
just
when we're not, go back to trying again.
Mm,
That's the point, is if you commit to living peacefully, it means when you aren't peaceful, you commit to going back and trying again.
yeah.
yeah.
And I think when people don't, I always say this is a thing. I think I wrote it in the Change Guidebook or something like that. But when you don't see eye to eye, like you were asking us about anger, when you don't see eye to eye, it's so important to go all heart to heart on it.
Oh, I love
I
that.
mean, absolutely 100% heart to heart. So if you really are having an argument with somebody,
Yeah.
really step back and go right here. Because
Yeah.
that's really, there's probably, Katie probably could tell, there's probably actually scientific data that says you're probably hurting your heart even when you're arguing or doing whatever that you're doing that isn't joyful or peaceful or
Well,
whatever.
you're
There's
definitely
probably
putting
damage
stress
being
on your
done. Yeah,
body for sure.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love it. Okay, that's a good one. When you don't see eye to eye, try going heart to heart.
Heart to heart.
Love
Yes.
That's actually the third thing that was on the fridge.
Ah,
Oh, that's a good one.
yeah, it is a good one. We've got some great guide in the Peace Guidebook and percolatepeace.com, right?
Yes.
Percolatepeace.com. And we have a shop too where you can buy your peace merch. That's new.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, you ladies, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Natalie, very
Thank you
much.
so
This has
much,
been a
Natalie.
wonderful experience. Bye-bye.
One sunny day, sunny sunny day. At times I try to find some hope. The only